So today we're talking about emergency preparedness, but for weather. So we're going to go over the different type of weather warnings and signs you may receive, and then different alert systems and kind of what to do. So this is just a big list and overview of all the different types of weather warnings. I have kind of break them down by category in the following slides, but we have like winter storm, ice storm, freeze, wind chill, fog, thunderstorm, tornado, flooding, excessive heat, tropical storm, hurricane. So, first of all, I want to cover the difference between a watch, an advisory, and a warning. I think this is really hard to misunderstand and misinterpret. So, I just want to lay out the definitions first. So, a watch is used when there's a risk of the weather event. So the location of it, the occurrence, the timing might still be uncertain, but it's just intended to provide time for people to prepare for the emergency. Basically, it just means that the weather is possible, the conditions are sort of right. An advisory is issued when a hazardous weather event is occurring or likely. Advisories are for less serious conditions, so it's less serious than a warning. It might cause an inconvenience, but it could eventually lead to situations that could threaten life or property. And then a warning is issued when there's an immediate hazardous weather condition. It usually means that the conditions pose a threat to life or property, and people in the path of the storm do need to take action immediately. Diving into winter weather, the first thing we're going to talk about is a winter storm. So, a winter storm is considered winter weather as a combination of these three things. It could be one of them, it could be two of them, and it could be all three. Any of these would qualify as a winter storm, but it's going to be 5 inches or more of snow, sleet within a 12-hour period, or 7 inches or more of snow or sleet in a 24-hour period. It also could be ice accumulation that causes damage to trees or power lines, or a life-threatening or damaging combination of snow and or ice accumulation with wind. An ice storm is going to be 1/4 inch or more of ice accumulation. This would be on trees and power lines and all that. A freeze is issued when there is or is there potential for a widespread freezing temperature. And a frost is issued when the minimum temperature is forecasted to be between 33 and 36 degrees on a normal, clear, calm night. So diving into wind weather. So a wind chill advisory is typically a wind chill of -5 to -19. That's what's expected. A wind chill warning is wind chills of -20 or lower. So you can see the difference between an advisory or a warning there. High wind is just when one of the following conditions is possible or expected. So it's sustained winds of 40 miles per hour or higher for 1 hour or more, or wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or higher for any duration. Dense fog is usually issued in the morning when it's expected to reduce visibility to 1/4 mile or less over a large area for an extended period of time. You typically see this in the mornings. For hurricane, I wanted to talk about the difference between a watch and a warning. So a watch is issued when a tropical cyclone containing winds of 74 miles per hour or higher poses a threat. This is generally within 48 hours. The winds might be accompanied by a storm surge, coastal flooding, and or river flooding. So the watch, like we talked about earlier, does not mean that this could occur. It means it's just possible. And then a warning is issued when these same winds are here. Usually it's under 36 hours. And the hurricane warning can remain in effect when dangerously high water or a combination of high water and high waves continue, even though the wind could be less than that hurricane force. So hurricanes typically are going to happen in coastal areas where water is coming from the ocean. Talking about storms, so to be defined as a severe thunderstorm, there has to be winds of 58 miles per hour or higher and or hail, usually 1 inch in diameter. And then for a tornado, a watch is issued when there are severe thunderstorms and tornadoes are possible. Usually they say the conditions are right, and they could occur depending on the location and just the environment. And then a warning typically means that a tornado has landed down somewhere near you, some in your area. So tropical and coastal weather are obviously not as likely to happen in our local area of NWA, but for anybody else that could be watching, I did want to touch on it. So a tropical storm is issued when there's winds from 39 to 73 miles per hour. This is going to be associated with a tropical cyclone, and they could be expected within 36 hours. The winds could also be accompanied by a storm surge, coastal flooding, and or river flooding. And then a coastal flood can also occur within these same conditions. Usually a coastal flood advisory could mean that it is a minor version of a coastal flood. So a flash flood is when the flooding occurs kind of out of nowhere. Usually there's heavy rainfall. Just a flood would just mean that the conditions are favorable for flooding, again, caused by excessive rainfall. And then a river flood is when a river overflows, causing flooding outside of the river. So touching on warm weather, so there could be an excessive heat warning when the heat index value is expected to reach or exceed 110 degrees. The heat advisory is when the heat index value is expected to reach 100 to 110 degrees. And then fire weather is just when the conditions are right for a fire, and this is just an alert to let officials and firefighters know of the potentially dangerous fire weather conditions. This warm weather also relates to the regulations for outside time, which I dived deeper into on my emergency preparedness video, which is also uploaded. But you're just going to want to keep an eye out for the heat index. I believe if it's over 95, it is recommended to stay inside for the children's safety. And if you are going outside, it needs to be for a very limited amount of time, and there needs to be access to shade. So now kind of shifting gears into some of the weather alert systems. So we have the wireless emergency alert system, which is just the notifications that we get on our phone when the National Weather Service issues a weather warning. The cell towers are then pinged and broadcast an alert to all of the phones within that immediate alert area. And then in addition to the national alert systems, we also have some local alert systems in NWA. So we have the Benton County Alert System, which is just emergency alerts and severe weather notifications. The link right here, the first one, is where you can sign up for it. And then we also have a early warning system for the rural residents of unincorporated areas of Washington County. This is called Code Red, and you can sign up for this on the second link. So Smart 911 is a really helpful website and tool to prepare for an emergency. So what it does is you create a safety profile that just gives additional information to 911 so that they can help you faster in an emergency. I've signed up for myself. They ask you like where you live, if you have pets, if you have kids, how many people are living in the house, everything that could be applicable to things they might need to know in an emergency. And then the system also will alert you and give you notifications of weather, traffic, or any other emergencies within your community. And then they'll also just have access and functional needs. So this is providing health care to them, providing medical records in a sense of just like if you have this disease and you need this type of health, it's all in there. And so emergency responders are able to get you the exact care that you need right away without having to run all these diagnostics and figure out what might be going on. They know your medical history before they get there, which is super helpful. There was actually a case of this son who passed away in a car accident, and his mom pushed people to get Smart 911 and then get it implemented in many places around the United States. So Arkansas is one of those, and it is just a immense tool and great thing that we have, and I just want to stress the fact that you should take advantage of this so you're able to get better care in case of an emergency and be more prepared. So for evacuating versus sheltering in place, you're going to want to evacuate for emergencies like a fire or flooding typically, and you're going to want to shelter in place for emergencies such as a hurricane, tornado, a hazardous spill, or a violent threat. In a violent threat situation, you're going to want to turn off all the lights, lock all the doors, and hide out of eyesight if possible, covering all windows and any way that an intruder could see in. Obviously, though, with evacuating and sheltering in place, it's really going to be on a case-by-case basis. You're just going to have to evaluate the situation and decide what is the most safe option for you and your family or the children in your care at a learning facility. This is a resource that Child Care Aware has, and I think it's great. It just talks about go versus no go, so it's preparing to evacuate or shelter in place. And it includes some tips about evacuation and sheltering in place that are really helpful. So I just recommend pausing this video and taking a moment to look over it. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned more about different types of weather warnings, alert systems, and evacuation versus sheltering, all of the above. But I just hope that you feel more confident and more prepared about what to do in an emergency situation.